I have some things that I would like to share with you. These are called two-liners. You've heard of one-liners, right? Have you ever heard of two-liners? Evidently it's a very, very famous type of humor, but I think they're great. What did the pirate say when he turned 80? I'm 80. Yeah, I knew you'd like it. There's one line and a second line. Okay. Want to hear a word I just made up? Plagiarism. You get it? No, okay. I really like this one. And the Lord said unto John, come forth and you will receive eternal life. But John came fifth and received a toaster. Someone stole my mood ring, and I don't know how I feel about it. Tammy is really enjoying these. Thank you, Doc. I'm just gonna play to you right here. That's what I'm gonna do. How do you think the unthinkable? With an iceberg. People are starting to shake their heads, so I better. One more, just one more. I told my wife she was drawing her eyebrows too high. She looked surprised. Yes. So I'm talking tonight about the I in community. It has nothing to do with any of that. The I in community, you've heard this old saying, there's no I in team. There's no I in team, meaning that there's something wonderful that happens when we sublimate the individual for the group. That is it's a thing that works. When you get your ego out of the way and you work with others for a common cause, that's what that means. There's no I in team. The sum is greater than what I'm trying to say. The total is greater than the sum of its parts. But what I'm talking about tonight is a little bit different slant on this, is that there is an I in community. When we're talking about spiritual community, I'm talking about this church is a spiritual community. Everyone who considers Unity of Houston their spiritual home is part of my spiritual community. Now, there is still this idea that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, but there's a beautiful, magical thing in spiritual reality. That the more you bring your uniqueness, your unrepeatable, irreplaceable essence that God has imbued you with, the greater we all are. We're not going to ask you to play small so that we can all be bigger. We're going to ask you to play big. That's what we teach in Unity, is that there's something uniquely purposed in your incarnation. The fact that you are here shows that the universe had need of an organ, as Emerson says. And you being big in the world, you getting totally freed up in your money and in your love life and in your body and health, if you just completely living your life full out, doesn't take anything away from anybody else. As a matter of fact, when we come together and see each other get freed up and begin to be transformed and live a life of big freedom, big joy, big love, big prosperity, big health, you know what it does for the rest of us? We get a little bit of the reflected glow. It lights us up. We begin to see, oh, that's possible. She can do that. Maybe that's possible for me too. When I first got into spiritual community, there were two communities that really shaped me. One was the 12-step community of Alcoholics Anonymous, and the other was a New Thought church, very much like this, in Dallas, called the Center for Spiritual Living. And I found that in the beginning, I was not very free. I was so bound by my old beliefs and ideas and my not enough stuff. Anybody else have a little not enough stuff? I'm never enough. I was never enough of anything to be what I thought I was supposed to be. So I came in pretty guarded. I didn't really want anybody to get to know me. I wanted to look like I knew everything, but I didn't know a lot, and I didn't want anybody to know that I didn't know much. So there was no authenticity or vulnerability. It was all shell. And under that shell, I was scared. But a miracle happened. I started messing up and getting things wrong, and people didn't kick me out and tell me that I was bad. And you said they love me, and you're great. And I got better. And my life was completely transformed by practicing spiritual principle on an individual level. No one can be responsible for your experience but you. And no one is responsible for my experience but me, my choices, my consciousness. But to do it in the context of spiritual community changed everything for me. Because sometimes I couldn't get to the place where I knew I was enough or I was okay. And if my minister could do that for me, or if my friend in class could do that for me, it made all the difference. And so I began to find, after I'd been sober a couple years, and because I found both New Thought and sobriety in the same year when I was 28. There's something about cycles of 7, in that fourth cycle of 7 years on the planet, something just started to kind of come into alignment for me. And so I had New Thought and I had 12-step recovery, and it was all about personal responsibility. Like, do I have to be that responsible? You mean I can't blame my mother for everything? That I really have to take ownership of my life? And it was really powerful. And as I began to get free, as I began to be free to express and experience life as the unique way that God has equipped me to do, I noticed something. Everywhere I went, there was a Michael-shaped space. Yeah, it was kind of, in my work life, it's like I would show up, and I was doing very different work. There was no thought of ministry back in those days. I was a singer in a piano bar, I was like, but I would show up, even at my gigs at night, I was like, I'm kind of perfect for this. What I'm bringing is kind of exactly what they need here, and I began to feel that. And then I definitely was feeling it in my community. I was the music director of that small church there in Dallas, and I was telling my minister about that. It just feels like there's this Michael-shaped space, and it's here. And she's like, well, that's the way it's designed. There's only one of you in all time, and it's meant to express fully, and that there's only one because it's needed now. And here's where it goes. If you're not experiencing a space shaped like you in your life, I invite you to at least open to the possibility that it's there for you. That you can have a life where everywhere you step into the room, people are just glad to see you. And there's something that you can get there that you can't get anywhere else, and there's something you can give there that they can't get anywhere else. That's what the I in community is about. The more you are clear on who you are, the greater your freedom in giving your gift, and there will be a space to receive it. How many of you grew up with the idea that your will is different from God's will? Just a couple? Really? Where did you grow up? Because I grew up where it was like my will was 180 degrees from God's will. God wanted me to be pure and good, never do anything fun, just be, like a little monk. That's what I thought God wanted me to be. And I wanted to have fun and explore life. Somewhere along the line, in this teaching, I was taught that God's will for me is freedom. God's will for me is joy and peace. In the Course in Miracles, it says it this way. I love this. The Holy Spirit cannot ask more than you are willing to do. The strength to do comes from your undivided decision. There is no strain in doing God's will as soon as you recognize that it is also your own. That phrase in there, undivided decision. What's the decision that you're being asked to do 100%? Be you. Right, Elizabeth? You're being asked to be yourself undividedly, to bring forth the authentic expression of who you are. And when you do that, that's what God wants. That is what God is asking from all of us, is to be who He created us to be, who she created us to be. It doesn't matter. Just we are here to be that will, that life of God incarnate. And we do it in spiritual community, and it's perfect and blissful and easy, and we never struggle. Let's go home. Charmaine's taking me at my word. She's leaving. Bye. She's like, I've been waiting for that message for 10 years. Here's what I have found in my years in spiritual community. Spiritual community is the place we get to grow up all over each other, as my friend Kathy Hearn says. It's the place where we get to, do you remember Harville Hendricks' book, Getting the Love You Want? He is a Dallas psychologist, had a wonderful discovery that we attract those people who are exactly what we need to heal. He calls it the imago, where the wound that we have, they have a bite shaped just like it. In the beginning of the relationship, it's like, oh my God, I found her. Oh my God, I found him. It's so good. And then about a year in, they totally change. And then they irritate you just the way your dad did. That is not by accident. Our subconscious calls to another. Well, you've seen this. I mean, some of you have done this, where you marry the alcoholic father that you ran away from when you were 18 years old. And you didn't think that when you married him. He was great. But that's what happens. There is something unhealed will call forth its healing. Again and again, through multiple marriages, sometimes I've heard. It will call it forward. Your unhealed thinking will continue to create, because this is the game in unity, right? Our thinking is creative, because we're tapping into divine energy that is moving through our mind. It's one mind, that we are the infinite intelligence, and so the creative power of thought is moving all the time. So that's why we teach affirmation and denial, but it's working in all of our thought. It's working in your not enough thought, too. It's working in your not deserving thought. And so any place where your thinking is error-based, any place where you don't know that you're the light of God expressing, that's going to be creating too. And it will draw into your experience that. And this is good. You don't believe me? This is good. Because it gives you an opportunity to see it. This universe is a perfect mirror. It gives you the opportunity to see where your consciousness is so that you know where to apply the healing. Where it is to surrender the old belief in not enough. Where it is to let go of that idea that this is the best romantic relationship I can call into mind. And it happens not just in those one-on-one romantic partnerships. It happens in all of our relationships. And it happens in spiritual community. We will continually call forward those situations. That's why it's kind of like that. It is with our dating relationship. People come to this church like, I have found the perfect church. They're nothing like the church I grew up in. They're perfect. And then a year later, they're like, those people. Hypocrites. I can't believe that's the way they act in Unity Church. Or he calls himself a minister. So this is kind of up. I was saying in the first couple of months after it was announced I was going to be the senior minister, I kept waiting for the people to go, not him. Well, a few of them have started speaking lately, and it's okay. But it's an opportunity for me to look at that. I know that this is what I'm called to do. I have the full support of the board. I mean, I feel like most of you are really, and there are a few people who are like, I'm not sure about you. And it's an opportunity for my healing. Am I going to be true to what God has called me to do? Am I going to be true to speak with the authentic voice I believe that the Holy Spirit is giving me to speak? Because not everybody likes to hear what I have to say. And I'm going to make mistakes. One of my wounds, I'm just going to put it all out here for you tonight, so don't tell them on Sunday. It's just us tonight. One of the core wounds of my life is that I hate to disappoint people. guess what? I'm disappointing people all the time. But I've come to a place of enough healing to recognize it for what it is. And when it comes up, I know what to do. I talk to somebody. I said, I think this is my stuff. Let me tell you what happened. And they'll be like, yeah, that's yours. Or my favorite is they go, that's not yours, that's them. I love it when I get that one. Because somebody is projecting here. It might be me, but sometimes it's not. When Charmaine left a moment ago, it's just kind of interesting because you think that we don't see you out there. If I'm really in that place where my old wound and not disappointing is activated, I will interpret your yawning as, oh my God, she hates me. I'm trying not to do that very much. I'm a little sensitive right now. But it really is okay that even the guy who's about to be your senior minister is still working on his stuff. I hope you're okay with that, because that's the only way I know how to do it. Because here's what I have learned. It's when we can be authentic and vulnerable that healing can occur. Because you know what? That gives love some breathing room. And when someone is unable to be with someone else's humanity, it is their issue. It's because they're not able to be with their own. When Jesus said, judge not lest you be judged, that's what that means. That when you're judging another, it is your own internal judgment of not enough that you are projecting outward. Every time. And so your calling is to love yourself, is to be gentle with yourself, to be able to be vulnerable and authentic, and then we can love you. I had this wonderful, I started to talk about it on Sunday, but I didn't give myself enough time. I wanted to share a little bit more about what Mindy and the other ministers and I got to hear last week at our conference from Father Gregory Boyle. Gregory Boyle is a Jesuit priest in Los Angeles. He was the parish priest in the poorest parish in America, between the two largest housing projects in America, with 8 rival gangs at war around him. He told us last Tuesday night or Wednesday night that he has buried 220 young people from gang violence in his ministry. His whole message was that we are one. I mean, he's a Catholic priest, and he's doing unity better than we're doing it. That he's able to take this principle that there is no other and take it into the most divided and violent schisms of humanity and heal. It's remarkable. He travels. So what he's done is he has established, let me just tell you the way he started it. There were the schools, the poverty, it's just unimaginable. So not only were the high school kids dropped out, but the middle school kids were dropped out of school and just running wild in these housing projects. And he thought, well, I can't reach those high schoolers, it's too late, but maybe these 10 and 11 and 12-year-olds, I can reach them. So he goes into the projects and he would find some middle schooler and he would say, if I can find a school that would take you, would you go? And he said, to his shock and surprise, every single one of them said yes. And then he was like, well, crap, now I've got to go find a school that'll take them. And guess what? There was none. There was no school that would take these kids. They were so troubled. And he said they owned a parochial school across the street from the church, and the 3rd floor was where the nuns lived. And so he went to the sisters and said, I'm thinking about starting some education, some school for these gang. Would you mind moving out so I can have a gang school in your convent? And they said, absolutely, we'll do that. So he began to intervene in these troubled, broken lives of these young kids. They now own 50 different businesses or something like that. They started with Homeboy Bakery. And it is the most successful gang intervention program in the world. And here's what he kept reminding us through his message. And you can look for his TED Talk. Gregory Boyle is his name. He said, well, I love this. He talked about, sometimes English is not their first language and not their best language. But he would go into the jails and he would bring the mass and he would have the guys in lockup. He would have them read it. And he said, one of them got up there and he said, reading the psalm, said, "The Lord is exhausted." Which he meant exalted. But he said, wow, what if? He said that Gregory Boyle was saying that he thinks that this exalted God, that's a projection of humans, that if I were God, I would want to be exalted. But what if God spent itself completely in loving us, gave itself fully, and so exhausted its nature in love? And so he talked about this exhausted God that just loves and loves fully. And what does this exhausted God want us to do? It wants us to be one. Jesus said it. It's in John. Let me read it to you. I read it on Sunday if you were there, but it's worth repeating. Jesus said, "My prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, and that all of them may be one. That all of them may be one, Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. May they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you sent me. I have given them the glory that you gave me, that they may be as one. I in them and you in me, so that they may be brought to complete unity." So I told you earlier that God's will is for you to be happy and get your stuff and be joyful and free, and now I'm telling you that God's will is for you to be one. Which is it? Yes. 100%. That your calling is to be fully and freely who you are. And that allows you to connect and open your heart to everyone. Father Boyle said that what he believes we're called to do is go to the margins. Those people, there are no throwaway people in his world. But go to the places where people have been thrown away, at the margins of culture and society, and stand with them. And he said the most amazing thing happens. When you go and stand with the people at the margin disappears. And he said, never, ever go there with the idea of rescuing someone. But he said an amazing thing happens. When you go there to the margins, not trying to rescue everyone, just being with them, all of us get rescued. It moves me so much to think there are no throwaway people. There's no opposite party in God. It's just us. I've been talking about it a lot, that if there is to be healing in our political system, if there's to be healing in our world, where a better place to start than in Unity Church? Mark Nepo has a wonderful book called The Book of Awakening. It's a daily meditation guide. And this was this morning. He said, my prayer, nope, that's not it. That was Jesus. That was not Mark Nepo. He said, consider how the sun continually lights our daily world, yet we cannot see the light except in what it touches. Though the sun burns constantly and holds everything living within its pull, though it sends its power across millions of miles, it is unseen for all that way until it hits a simple blade of grass or makes the web of a spider a golden patch of lace. In the same way, the presence of God powerfully moves between us, unseen, only visible in the brief moments we are lighted in those enlivened moments we know as love. If you want proof that God exists, open your heart to another human being. That is God's will, is that you be exactly who you are, fully, flawedly as you can. Just show up and open your heart. Let somebody love you, and love somebody else who doesn't have it all together either. And watch miracles occur. Watch God transform your life. Watch the salvation of our world occur. God bless you.